Have you ever heard of EMDR as a treatment for people who have been narcissistically abused, trauma bonded, all the things that happen in situations like this? If you haven't heard of EMDR, I have got a very special friend. Um, Katrina, and her last name is Reese Newton. I wanted to make sure I put the new middle in there. She is a trauma expert and has been helping people for over 2 decades. And EMDR is changing the way that narcissistic survivors get healed. It is a powerful tool, and I can't wait for her to explain it to you because we need this information. I've had lots of people have scary stories and say, I don't know if I want to try that. I've heard scary stories. They don't know the person with the scary story, but it blocks them from getting the help that they might need. So let's go meet Katrina and we will tap into what EMDR is. Welcome, Katrina. I'm so excited that you're here to join me.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are an EMDR expert, and
Yes.
it is such a powerful healing tool for people that I wanted you to come and explain it because when I have someone that goes, should I do EMDR? I'm going to send them this video. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I want you to start by explaining what it is because people hear it, they hear brain spotting, things like
Yeah.
that. They don't understand what it is. Can you explain
Ab-
that?
Absolutely. I think it's a little scary too when you're talking about doing things with the brain and you go to explain it, and people get really nervous about it, rightfully so. So, I'm going to try to explain it in a really easy to understand way because it's really not that scary. I'll tell you, when I go to do it with clients, I usually just have them jump right into it because it's easier for them to kind of see it. So, basically, what we're doing is you're taking anything that someone's having an intense emotion about, okay? We can use the word trauma, but we can really just use intense, heightened emotions. And you're going to emotionally neutralize that, right? So if someone's feeling at a 10 with anger, anxiety, fear about a situation, and there's often negative beliefs associated with that, what EMDR is going to do is it's going to use bilateral stimulation. Okay. So you can either do that through the eyes. You can do that where I usually just have my clients hold something and it alternates vibrating in their hands. So it's very relaxing. We can do taps. You can use sound in your ears, even when someone's walking, right? Right, left. That's the bilateral stimulation. And what it's doing, it's just neutralizing those intense emotions. So literally someone just stays with that target. As you add the bilateral stimulation, it all goes away. So it's not about erasing any memory. It just is about neutralizing that emotion that goes with it.
It's almost like unplugging the cord, but the cord's still there.
Yes.
You're just going, you're not electrified right now.
Exactly. And then they can think clearly through it on their own. So the brain uses its natural ways of healing to be able to move things through. So it kind of like organizes things in our brain and in our body, right? Because it's all connected, so that it's not lit up like that and we're having these strong emotional reactions, so we can think clearly through what needs to be done, next.
That helps so much. But is it like something they put on their ears and they get sound? Is it just the tapping, the bilateral? Like, what else am I missing?
It's really as simple as that. So I'll say, to keep it simple, I usually have clients start, and if we're in person, I hand them something in their hands and it alternates just vibrating. That's it. And they sit there and they can keep their eyes open or closed. And we just, as their body has brought up this topic, okay, the body knows. Usually they can close their eyes if they want to just kind of look on a place on the floor, they can keep them open. And literally, as they sit there, and this is just alternating, okay? Or again, if we're virtually, as they sit there, they're just closing their eyes and they do like a butterfly tap. And I have them do it anywhere from about 10 seconds to a minute, depending on different things. And then we pause and we check in. What do you notice now? Right. And what's happening is all these things are kind of jumping around. So your unconscious part of the brain, right? Our dream state, Okay. So when we dream, right, we use our imagination is really active. Our imagination doesn't work out things in our dreams in this linear way. It's like you're a dinosaur being chased and then you're flying, right? And what's so cool is that's actually how our brain is meant to function and process things through. So we don't need to tell the whole story. We don't need to start at the beginning and go through things. As you're doing this, your brain naturally goes where it needs to go to process it through. So you sit with a set, we check in. What do you notice? Did thoughts come up for you that time? Maybe someone has no thoughts that come up and they might just notice, like, my stomach is starting to feel a little tight. And I'll just say, notice those sensations. They close their eyes again and they focus back on the tapping, and you just keep going like that. So, unlike traditional talk therapy where you're talking through, the client is really guiding, and I am just following what the client is doing. And I'm watching their body and what's coming up to
Mhm.
kind of help them go back and forth for where they need to go next. And their body knows exactly what they need to do to heal and
Mhm.
how to guide them through that.
That sounds so awesome. But
Yeah.
I want to also say that I want your dreams because I don't ever have anything follow. I'm like, you remember your dreams? I'm kind of jealous about that. That was a pretty good. I was like, wow, I don't know. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. Oh no.
Yep. Nope.
But you had talked about, how it helps people who have been narcissistically abused. They've
Yeah.
been gaslit, they've been manipulated, they're trauma bonded. You know,
Yeah.
how does EMDR rewrite that betrayal, the trauma, the lies, the confusion? How does it help?
Absolutely. So again, if you're giving any of those examples, those are usually leaving us feeling that those tactics that were being used and when we're in that abuse with negative beliefs. So I'm not good enough. I'm unlovable. I'm broken. I'm not safe. I'm not okay. Right. And so they might have a specific memory tied to, like, he was yelling at me, he's saying all of these things, the kids watching in the corner. There might be an image, it might just be that negative belief of a situation. So you would literally take that. The cool part with EMDR is you can start anywhere. We can start with a specific thing of a memory. We can start with that negative belief. We could start with something that just happened yesterday. We could go back to something that happened 50 years ago. The cool part is the body knows how to connect it. So, unlike people using their logic part of the mind to be like, I don't know where to start, what I tell people is we can start anywhere. Okay. And we can even start with the idea of thinking about going back and even talking about this is
Mhm.
lighting up your body. Let's see if we can neutralize even the idea of you having to talk about some of these things that happen to you. Let's just start there and neutralize that. And so you start in little pieces for them. And when you try it, it's like the closest thing to a magic wand, right? That when someone does it and they're like, oh my gosh, that's so weird. I don't know why that doesn't bother me anymore, right? That is the juice that they're like, okay, I'm ready to keep going and trying more. And then on its own, okay, so what we're doing is I'm always checking in as a therapist, 0 to 10, right? How upsetting, overwhelming does that feel? So we're always rating it and we're checking back in until that literally gets to a 0, okay? Nothing emotionally comes up anymore.
Mhm.
And then we take that negative belief. When you think about that, how strong does that feel? 1 to 7. How much do you still feel like I can't trust anyone? I can't trust myself. We get that to a 1 where that negative belief feels like it's not there.
Mhm.
Then what we do is we reinstate the positive. Like, I did the best I could. I
Mhm.
can trust myself.
Mhm.
I can know how. And we're going to attach positive. So we're not just clearing out the negative, traumatic, upsetting. We're like we call it like reinstalling, but we're restoring in people these positive resources that we all have, right? And reminding us that I am strong, I am wise, I am brave. And instead of just an affirmation that like you repeat back, but you're like, I don't really believe that crap, the person, like, you see their eyes light up and they're like, I feel that. Like, it feels different.
Wow.
It's so powerful.
If we think about survivors, they often have that rumination,
Yeah.
that I can't sleep because they're replaying over and over the scene of whatever the event was or the million of events.
Yeah.
And they're struggling. They're being re-triggered every time it happens. So how does
Yeah.
EMDR help that?
Yeah.
They're just
So
laying there in bed and it just keeps coming in.
yeah. So here's what's really interesting is we do not have a perfect scientific answer of why it works.
Mhm.
Okay? Here's our best guess. Is during when we're sleeping at night, okay? Our eyes naturally move back and forth.
Wow.
Okay? It is believed that this is the process. This is why sleep's so important. So much happens to regenerate our body and like process through things when we're sleeping. Okay. And so normally when we're sleeping, that's where our body is recouping from what happened. And it's like organizing things that happened. When something more intense, emotional, again, we can use the word traumatic, but sometimes people get caught up on that word, okay? It can just be something more emotional that is more than we can handle, is it doesn't get processed through. It's like it sits in the front of the brain, and that's why time does not heal all wounds. I could work with somebody 50, 80 years after something happened, and the body keeps the score. The body knows time. So it's literally like it happened, or it is even happening right then. That's what the body feels.
Mhm.
But when we add this tapping to it, it's like it processes it back to where it needs to go. And it feels complete. It feels like, yeah, if I remember that thing, but like, I took out the trash last Thursday. Like it's done. Like we move on and it's the new week and we're dealing with what's in front of us now.
That's amazing. I
Yeah.
love that you're talking about this, but people are going to want to know. I mean, I hear you in the disconnection and the sort of reprogramming, if you would, and no, that's not the technical term, but
Mhm.
you're rewiring things to not have the emotional attachment.
Yeah.
But how's it different than just talk therapy? Like,
Yeah.
what's the big difference? Because people are like, well, which one am I supposed to do?
Yeah. So here's the thing. EMDR is the number one evidence-based trauma treatment. Okay. And so what we also have to remember is all these things are stored in our body. Things that we didn't even remember. We get into epigenetics of things that we're carrying that is not even from our lifetime, that's in our DNA, right? From other lifetime. I'm going to tell you a quick story to give this an example. I'm gonna give you two. One is we can talk and we have a knowing about something. Okay. I myself, right? Take anything, like just delete the word trauma and just say, I remember this thing that happened. And I can know it's fine. I'm going to get through it. Like I logically know that, but I think of this person and I am so fueled up with my emotion. Okay. Talking actually, this is what is really interesting, actually reinforces it. What fires together wires together. So when you are talking, you are actually lighting up and increasing the energy that goes with this negative thing. You are actually making it worse.
Wow.
Okay. And that is why some people are like in therapy for like 10, 20 years on the same thing because you're going around and you're actually inflating it and growing it bigger. And it just doesn't work. Right. And this is where people become so frustrated. And you can come in and people can see results in as little as one session, 1 to 3 typically. But the first time you do it, you're going to feel something shift differently. It's so magical. And so, like, even I'm going to give you an example. My daughter, she was born just terrified of dogs. Okay. Terrified. No nothing happened. We're a dog family, but she would see this small dog that was like, didn't even move. And she would have like almost like a traumatic response, pick me up, screaming, hysterical, no matter how often friends we went over. Okay. So this happened time and time again. And we were at a friend's house. Again, they have this dog. It's upstairs this way and she's freaking out about this dog. She's at 2, okay? So she can't really like verbally process other than like, Mom, pick me up, right? And I was like, I'm just gonna see this EMDR thing. So we're like at a social event, okay? And she's just with me and she's standing in front of me. Instead of immediately picking her up, I just got down on her level and I started tapping on her shoulders. And as she was talking, and she's like, the doggy, he's gonna get me. I, well, he's kind of cute. I think he just wants to be my friend. Literally runs off and has never had an issue with dogs since. that quick. Children, immediate, because they don't have all of these things compacted.
Yeah.
And that's also what's really important for people to know when something new happens. The quicker they get in, okay? If they can get in within 90 days, it hasn't like set into the body in the same way, and we can clear it really quickly. Children are fantastic.
Mhm.
And so again, you're just it just is relieving it. So there's no effort, there's no even skill needed.
Mhm.
But it like unlocks this hold it has on people where they can go and do the thing that they just need to do.
Wow, that story
Yeah.
was fascinating, and I can
It's
see.
so interesting. And I have thousands of stories like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And again, I know that repeating and going back and let's look at that and going back is re-traumatizing, re-triggering, re-triggering, right?
Yeah.
And
And it
so
just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So we get so frustrated. Yeah.
I have had so many clients in therapy for 20 years, like you said, about a narcissistic parent or something.
Yeah.
And then they start to work with me and we don't look at what happened. We look at how to heal you. And all of a sudden, like 6 times, and they're like, oh my God,
Yeah.
it's not like the 20 years I just wasted. I'm rephrasing that. I'm not holding it that way. I've let go of this. I see that this is hurting me. They understand it, where the therapy just kept them regurgitating. And some of it is processing, but there's a lot of bad therapists out there that just are not hitting and helping, more listening. And thank you so much for telling me today. And they just walk off.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
so many therapists that you
Yeah.
just go in there, you're like, oh my God, this just happened. Thank you for telling us. Where's my check? And
Great.
they don't go, wow, that was this. How did it feel? They don't dig in further. So I think this is going to be an amazing, video to share with my clients. But how do they find the right therapist? And I'm going to preface this with,
Yeah.
when I used to run in-person support groups, I now do them on Zoom, but I had all those people in my group, and
Yeah.
there would be 40 of them. And like at least 5 people a group would tell them, everyone, how the EMDR therapists took them too far and
Mm,
things got ugly and they were
mm,
like freaking out and the therapist didn't know what to
mm,
do. So how
mm.
do they find someone that knows what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Like, do they call
Sure.
and go, are you going to traumatize me when you do this? How do you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, great question. So important. It's one thing to like you want to find someone with EMDR, but then how do you decide who's a good EMDR therapist? And I will tell you from my own experience as well, there is a lot of not great ones. So one thing we want to look for is, do they have a certification in EMDR? Okay, so you can look at them being certified by what versus they took one class and they don't have that certification.
Right.
Even better than that, I'll tell you, is asking them how often they use EMDR.
Mm.
Okay. How often and which clients are they using EMDR? What type of things are they doing with EMDR? Why that matters is, and I train therapists myself in it, and it triggers me because they will not, the therapist I'm training, I know will not be comfortable with it. You have to have a level of confidence and be a leader to do a treatment like this. And it is not the right fit for every therapist, but they might have gone to the 101 training and they say they do it to get the client in, and then they never use it.
Mm.
Because they're not comfortable with it. So they do everything else. Or the second they have something come up, they panic because they don't know what to do. So I would say I'm using this every single day on my clients, at all ages. There's always a time that we can use this, even for positive ways that we're instilling positive resources and building up their coping skills. We do the tapping slow, and it integrates the positive into your body. And I teach my clients this. So are they certified? How often do they use it? What do they use it for? I had one person that she said, again, she was an EMDR therapist, and the person went through divorce. It was a child of divorce with parental alienation. And she goes, oh no, that I do it on trauma. That's not trauma. And it's like, again, is she a trauma therapist? No, the idea that you would not say that that is trauma, because again, the lack of knowledge of that therapist only thinking like war, right? The myth of only war is trauma That's devastating to me. That's devastating that someone asks for it and the therapist gives them these poor information, which is my passion, is psychoeducation, is teaching people about this, how to advocate, how it should be done, so you can be aware of these things, so you know what you're looking for and if this is working. The client should always also, if they are saying something, the therapist should know how to spot that and know how to manage that. My clients are never getting to that level. I'm trained in something further training, which is like EMDR 2.0, where that is not happening. And so that would be a signal that the therapist isn't really competent in that. And we want to find somebody that is.
So are we looking for a 2.0 trained person? Is that better? Hard?
I would say your comfort level with it. How often are you using it? What type of things are you doing with it? Even asking questions. What do you do if I start feeling really overwhelmed? They should have an answer for that. I can tell you 8 different things I'm going to do if you're doing that. I'm going to be reassuring you and telling you as things are coming up and
Mhm.
signaling, right? The client is always in control too. So, like, if my clients are holding the things that vibrate or they're stopping, they can stop at any time. So even though I haven't said, stop yet, because it hasn't been 30 seconds and but I'm watching you the whole time. I'm watching to see if you're getting heightened, I'm stopping it. It's like the analogy of, like, if you go to the gym, right? And you work with a trainer one time and they kick your butt so hard that it's miserable and you never want to go back because you're like hurt so bad and you felt like you were going to die. That is not our goal. My goal is you're gaining someone's confidence to deal with emotion. So you're doing it in very small chunks, pulling them back and being like, that's it. Let's start there. Right. And you're building that up so the client is really competent in that.
Wow, that's amazing. I love what you've been sharing. Is there anything that we've missed in this lovely conversation that you want people to know?
I think that people, just to not be scared of it, okay? It is tapping has been around for centuries, even before EMDR. The EMDR is a protocol, right? Specific steps that were created that we're packaging as EMDR, but tapping has been around for centuries.
Mhm.
This is just the body. And I'm going to teach clients how to do it themselves too when they're not with me, how to do calming, right? How to practice these principles. It's another like grounding exercise that you can do with your body.
Mhm.
Anything that is an emotion, okay? If a kid is stressed out about school and a test, we can EMDR through that. If the kid is furious with their parent and they think they're a teenager and they think their parent is ridiculous, instead of me trying to talk sense or get the kid to think about it in a different way, I'm gonna be like, notice that and tap through that. And that, right? So you should be using this regularly, and you can use it for everything: anxiety, panic attacks, PTSD, low self esteem, trust issues, flashbacks, specific memories, these negative beliefs, this feeling that you feel like this knot in your throat, these headaches that you're getting. Again, even if you're not having emotional symptoms, but I have clients that come to me with this body stuff. Um, MS, fibromyalgia, a lot of autoimmune, again, is these emotions trapped in the body. And what's fascinating is as we do the EMDR, their physical symptoms go away. And a lot of them get off medication or have this huge new relief, because they've cleared that.
Wow, I love all of this. Thank you so much for sharing this with me because I think we have to know that there are different things to get us through
Yes.
this stuff. And no
Yeah.
matter where you are, if it's a divorce, if it's trauma, if it's your parents, you're holding this stuff. And, for someone who has had narcissistic parents and never knew it or did work for it,
Yep.
then marries one, there's like compounded wounds. And,
Mm-hmm.
and it's
Yep.
almost, if I were to tell you to look under my desk right now, it'd be a whole bunch of cords,
Yes.
just strings all over there. And that's how our brain gets when you've had this consistent trauma. And
Yes.
so this is a safe and easy way. And I love it. And I can't wait for everyone to see this.
Yeah. And I want to add one more thing to what's so great too is, when you say you have all this stuff and people are like, we're going to be here forever. Here's the difference too with EMDR. You don't have to go through all of those.
Right.
You just chunk them together. And as you clear it, the whole group of all that stuff, you don't need to go through every piece.
Mm.
And it's clearing it all out and it's fast. You're getting results very, very quickly. That is absolutely changing your life and freeing you. So you're not carrying all of this emotional baggage because, like you said, that's the pattern that will continue repeating. So when we clear this out, you automatically are breaking the pattern with little effort because you're not attracted to those same scenarios because you've released that pattern.
I love it. Thank you. Can you tell us how we can find you?
Yes. So you can find me at on my website, Empowering Transitions Divorce Coaching. I'm on Instagram at Katrina.divorcecoach, Facebook, Empowering Transitions Divorce Coaching. I'm all over. If you Google me, you can find me. I work with people individually, group coaching sessions, and I offer a lot of free advice in my videos to kind of help people break down and specifically with divorce coaching. EMDR is just one of my techniques that I use to help release people of this, but there's lots more up my sleeve too and things that I use to help people. So
Well, thank you so much. This
yeah.
has been a
Thanks
great
for having
conversation.
me.
Help a lot of people. You are so smart. Thank you.
Yes, it's so beautiful that you're providing this outlet for people to be educated because we can't change or know if we're not educated of this is what this is and what it's called. So your work is so beautiful. So thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. 20 years in therapy. Just saying. She was very helpful and I'm really grateful to her. If you are looking for support or help, you can reach me on my website, narcissistabusesupport.com. I help people in every situation of narcissism, and I am here to help you too. So I look forward to meeting you soon. This is Tracy Malone. Thank you so much for joining. Please click like and share and subscribe. See you all soon.